very pleasant good morning to everyone. On behalf of the Caribbean Center for Competitiveness of the University of the West Indies and the Cave Hill School of Business and UNU Merit, I wish to formally welcome each and every one of you to this very intensive one-week workshop in design and evaluation of innovation policy. I want to just recognize the people on my head table. We have closest to me, Professor Fred Galt. He is one of the UNU Merit professors, and he will be taking us through this morning session. And next to him is Dr. Janine Comer. She is the director, the executive director of the Cave Hill School of Business, and next to her is Mr. Howard Hudson from UNU Merit. Dr. Comer is stretched for time, which is very kind to join us just for a few minutes. I want to introduce her immediately to bring welcoming remarks on behalf of this business school.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning again.
On behalf of the Cave Hill School of Business and the University of the West Indies generally, I wish to say welcome to you to this workshop. As Indira said, I know it's going to be not only a packed week, but insightful and informative. And it definitely is an area that we've spoken quite a lot about in terms of saying at CCfC that it is important for us as a Caribbean region, if we are serious about being competitive, we have to be serious about innovation. And the whole question of innovation policy and how we evaluate the success of it to our various nations is an imperative that we need to look forward to going forward.
Why a workshop, design and evaluation of innovation policy, the Caribbean context? How did we get to this place? As many of you will know, and we have represented here at least about 8 or 9 countries of the region, most of our countries understand that building competitive nations is really an imperative, and that being innovative in that process and the role of innovation is extremely important. In fact, most governments have articulated the actual development of innovation policy or innovation systems. So that is, it's on the cards, it's very topical, and it's out there. The real challenge is how to do that. How do we go about designing it? Do we really have sufficient understanding in terms of how we do that? And that really is what drove CCfC to look in this particular area. And thinking that what we probably need to do is bring together in a room our policymakers, our academics, as well as much as possible private sector institutions, for us to kind of brainstorm around that. And to help us to do that, we thought that we needed some international experts who are out there actually doing this. And this is what led us to this partnership with UNU Merit. I think it's very important for those of you who are coming for the first time to understand a little bit about the Caribbean Center for Competitiveness. Yeah? So the center is a University of the West Indies center. But it's funded by the IDB, DFID, and CEDA. The center, as I say, is just 1.5 years old. It's located on the St. Augustine campus, but it really has a regional mandate. So we really very aggressively and intentionally and deliberately make an effort to ensure that at any activity that the center is doing, we have regional representation, that we are building capacity in the entire region, not just in 1 or 2 of the countries. It was set up to, one, build technical capacity and competitiveness in the region, understanding that in order to build competitiveness, we need to know how. We need to understand what are the methodologies out there. How do you really go about building competitive nations? And by that we mean we understand that we have to build competitive firms, competitive industries. We have to have competitive policy environment. So when I use the concept of competitive nation, I'm letting you know all of those issues are subsumed under it. Second purpose for the center is to do research and case study analysis in the region. And in fact, in April of this year, we hosted a competitiveness case writing workshop using the global value chain approach. And we have 7 groups coming out of that who are actually in the process right now of writing up some cases at the firm level, in some instances at a cluster level, at some instances at a sub-regional level. So we have 7 very interesting cases that will be written up coming out of that workshop, because one of the vacuum that exists is really knowledge, documented knowledge on regional competitiveness. Yes, we rank very low, and we know we have to improve our ranking competitiveness, but there are examples of firm-based competitiveness industries that are competitive, and we really have not done the work in terms of putting it down on paper. So that is one of the gaps that the centre is really seeking to fill, and we're hoping that these cases can filter into the business schools to be used in academic programs. They can be used by firms coming into the industry wanting an understanding of what's happening. So we are now trying to contribute to that global literature of cases on firm-based, industry-based competitiveness. Then we are intended to be a centralized repository of knowledge. So we kind of in one centralized place will try to harness all of the information that's available on competitiveness, and our focus really will be on small state competitiveness. And thinking about all of those things, understanding that there are multiple number of institutions existing in the region already that are doing things. We didn't want to be duplicating, although there will always be some amount of overlap. So the centre felt that we needed to identify a niche where we would focus in on, where we would focus in terms of building capacity, working with private sector institutions, working with donor institutions, working with governments in terms of moving from pure research to applied research to be able to work hands-on on the ground building competitiveness strategies. And after about a year, and in terms of doing our research, we have zeroed in on these particular areas: clustering, global value chain analysis, and innovation. And really thinking about how those 3 things work hand in hand in order to build a competitive nation. And you will notice that there's one particular segment in this workshop that actually speaks to that particular issue, looking at these 3 areas. So this is the niche that the centre is focused on. To date, we have trained close to 200 participants who have attended the workshops that we have done. Some people have actually attended all of them, because we felt that it was important to have a cadre that would complete the entire set of training. So we have that expertise on which to now go out and work with government, work with private sector in terms of doing the work. And we've already initiated a number of discussions with some regional governments and regional institutions that are interested, very, very much interested in this kind of work for their respective sectors, and so that we are doing that even as we continue to build capacity. So that in a nutshell is what the centre is about. I want to ask if anybody have any questions that you would like me to clarify at this point in time in terms of what I've said so far. Well, that's a very good question. So what we've done in terms of, because it's a university centre, and in terms of building technical capacity, it's really about building it within academia as well as within the policy environment and even private sector. So we have been building a database of all of these institutions, and anything that we're doing, we send it throughout that through that database. So we have a listing of possibly all, certainly may not be, it's not exhaustive, so it's a constant work in progress. But we have a pretty large database of all the academic institutions, all of the, well, not all, a lot of the private sector institution, umbrella institutions. All of our participants become part of that network, so we feed it through them when they participate in our workshop. Governments, we try to identify the institutions within the countries that we believe are in alignment with what we are doing. And I will now introduce to you, to represent UN Merit, Mr. Howard Hudson, and he will tell you a bit about the university and about the program for the next 5 weeks. Mr. Hudson, come on, warm welcome.
So we're here today to work on this programme, Design and Evaluation of Innovation Policy, tailored specifically for the Caribbean context.
Thank you very much, Howard. I just want to share with you how the region ranks with respect to innovation in the Global Competitiveness Index. And these are, it's not all the countries in the region, unfortunately, which are ranked in the index, but these are the ones that are, and this is the 2012 data, and out of 144 countries, Suriname ranked 124th, the DR 118th, Trinidad and Tobago 104, Jamaica 86, Haiti 143, Guyana 76, and Barbados 40. So Barbados really is the regional leader in terms of its ranking on the competitiveness index in innovation. And I think, trying to really understand, therefore, why Barbados, why not Jamaica, why not Trinidad and Tobago, what it is behind that, I think really makes for interesting thinking. And it is also worth noting that the country that ranks highest in terms of innovation subpillar on the index is Switzerland. So just for information, so that clearly there is, if we take this index on face value, which I think we should not, because we really need to challenge almost many of these indices that are developed externally and really literally almost imposed on us. Is it really fair to rank Haiti against Switzerland, for example, using the same set of variables? So all of those things, as regional thinkers, we need to really think about and determine whether the degree of irrelevance and the extent to which we really need to redefine things in order to meet our own particular needs. So this is just some information, food for thought as we go into the workshop.